Well, hello, Young and the Restless Daily Recap fans. Excuse me. Today's weekly recap is from January the 28th, really the 27th, Monday the 27th, 2025, all the way till yesterday, which is February the 7th. I'm going to sum that all up. Um, we already know Jordan died. Everybody, little asthma voice problems, ignore it. Jordan died. She's really dead. So Monday we spent a lot of recap time with Vicky and um Nikki talking to Claire and justifying the whole Allen. Right? Boring. Now, Victor's bright idea, where we left off, he had Ian brought to the house. Um and I guess Nikki and Claire and Vicky had gone upstairs. Yeah, they actually had gone upstairs when Victor ordered Ian to be brought to him. So the guard brings in, and I don't know if I even talked about this last time because for some reason I think I had talked about it. Ian somehow gets the gun from the guard. What kind of guard is that? Right? Ian's an old man, and he got the jump on the guard's gun. Now, mind you, Victor Newman is having a criminal madman brought to him in his house. And you mean to tell me that man ain't packing? He didn't have a gun just for the unlikelihood that his guard gets overtaken because he has only one guard in the house. So Ian knocks the guard out with the back of the gun and he's yelling for Nicole to come downstairs and join everybody. But Nikki and Claire and Vicky come down just a bit later. I don't even know if she heard him calling for her to come downstairs because otherwise, guess what? I'd have been calling 911. Ian Ward is in my house, right? So as they're coming down the stairs, she sees the guard, Nikki, knocked out at the bottom of the stairs because Ian had drug him there. And she goes, "Oh my goodness, what's happened?" Which let everybody know they were coming. And it's like, "Get over here, Nicole." And they had called Adam to come over. So Adam's like, "Okay, what's going on?" He walks in. Ian's got them all at gunpoint, with the exception of the Newman that's not a Newman. For my dog here. And her name is Abby. Abby don't get caught up in nothing, right? Not a doggone thing. Thank goodness. Needless to say, Ian is gonna shoot Nikki. Victor gets in front of the bullet. He takes the bullet. He gets shot. He's back in the chair, and everybody's freaking out. And Ian Ward said, "Don't you move! Don't you move!" And Nikki's like, "Victor, Victor," and he goes, "Now who's gonna be next?" And he's waving the gun around. Victor decides he's gonna charge him. So Victor charges Ian. He musters up enough strength after being shot in the abdomen, and he gets up and he charges him. And they're on the couch, the brand new couch for the new house, and the gun goes off. So, of course, for half a second, we don't know who got shot. Well, guess what? It was Ian. So now we have Ian shot and Victor shot. So they get Victor. Victor like moves off of Ian, and maybe Nick and Adam or Nicholas gets the gun that Ian had. Adam helps Victor onto the chair, and probably Nikki too. Um, and they call 911. Ian, they have sitting against the wall in a chair. It's like, "Don't be bleeding on my new couch." Okay. As it is, Victor's sitting in the chair, but I think the chair is kind of a reddish, orangish color. Who would know, right? So anyway, Ian is looking down and he's bleeding profusely from the abdomen, which should be a death shot where he got shot, right? And he's like, Victor, it's not looking too good over here, Victor. Yeah, okay. You think it ain't looking too good, Ian? And and so Nick says, an ambulance is coming. And he goes, we all know that ambulance is only going to take your father out of here. I'm going to probably die here. So the ambulance comes and they're asking him about Tessa and the baby. And he's like, I don't know where Tessa and she and Mariah's baby are. I haven't seen them. Right. And we're thinking, okay, he's going to go down with that lie. All right. So meanwhile, at Sharon's house, because we're waiting for the ambulance to come. At Sharon's house, Mariah's freaking out. Sharon's there. Lord knows where Faith is. She probably sleeping through the whole thing, right? Why, I don't know. Um, Tessa comes. Now, Tessa comes, she knocks on Sharon's door. She has the baby. She's holding the baby and she comes in. And they're like, Tessa, Tessa. Oh, and they're freaking out. And she's like, well, like, what's going on? And he goes, they thought Ian kidnapped her. And she goes, no, Ian had nothing to do with what happened to me last night. They told. See, this is where, I don't know, was it let my writer's child come to work with me today when this script was written? They had Tessa say, she was upset at the fight that she and Mariah had. And Aria started crying, and I couldn't get her to stop crying. So I put her in the car, and you know how we just ride her around to calm her down. And Mariah says, "Well, yes, that helps." She goes, "But you left without her favorite toy. How was that? How was she going to calm down?" And so Tessa says, "I wasn't thinking. I just wasn't thinking." So I'm driving around and I'm driving around and Aria's still crying. And, my mind I was just thinking, and I didn't even know where I was driving at. Genoa City is only so doggone big. You driving around and you're going to say, I don't know where I was. There wasn't a street sign. There wasn't, hey, I could have been in New York for all I know. And, left in such a hurry, the car wasn't fully charged. So the car ran out of gas. Or she says the car battery was low. And I didn't know where I was, where to go, thinking, okay, where to charge in the woods, right? If there's one thing us EV people know, is if we're going to run around, we know where the charging stations are. And I don't care how upset we are, because I have an electric vehicle. I don't care how upset I am. I'm not going to be driving aimlessly and my car battery is low. Because you want to know what, everybody? It lets you know it's low. It lets you know, right? So I had to pull over to the side of the road. The car was out of electricity, and my phone was dead. Thankfully, Aria had gone to sleep. But it was it was cold and I couldn't call you because my phone was dead. Because silly, stupid me had, while I was driving around aimlessly, I could have had my phone plugged in. And guess what? The car would have charged it. So then, I was sitting there trying to figure out what to do because I couldn't get out and walk with Aria in the cold. No, no, Tessa, you couldn't. No. And Abby drove by. So that means her car ran out of gas somewhere close to the Chancellor estate. Tessa used to live at the Chancellor estate. Remember when Mariah was pregnant? This airhead still didn't know where she was. Didn't ring into her head. Oh, shoot, as I'm driving aimlessly, oh, there goes Mariah's place. I mean, there goes Abby's place. Come on now. And she says, and Abby picked me up. Abby realized she left her phone at society. Go figure that. So I just had no way of calling you. And Abby dropped us off at home. Now, mind you, this is the next morning. So then I came here and I'm thinking, how'd you come here? Because Abby didn't drop you off at Sharon's. Your car is somewhere dead. That was the stupidest story that was ever handed out. It was one of those stupid stories that in any other setting you would swear that person was having an affair. Trying to string along a story off the cuff that made no sense. But anyway, good. So, um, what's her name? Claire comes by and she's it was giving them an update about Jordan. And she was telling them, how Jordan had died and the police took her body away, even though in reality, well, I don't know how it is in all other states, but in California, the police don't take bodies away. The coroner does. If there's a dead body anywhere, the coroner comes, declares them dead, and takes the body. Unless they're in a hospital, doctor declares them dead. And they put them in a little hospital morgue. The coroner comes to get them. So I'm thinking the coroner didn't come and claim Jordan's body. Well, okay, right? So then they heard an ambulance coming towards the property, and the new house is on another side of the property because Sharon says it seems like they're coming this way. But then the ambulance doesn't come in their area because that's where the old house is. He goes, it looks like it's going on to the other side of the property where the new house is. So they go up to the new house. Now, meanwhile, the ambulance comes, they declare Ian dead. They're tending to Victor and they're saying, we got to get you to the hospital right away. Now, mind you, they have Ian on a gurney. And they said, wait here, Mr. Newman, we're going to get another gurney for you. So, in other words, the dead man got precedence on the gurney. And Victor's like, no, no, don't get no gurney. No, I'm not going on a gurney. I'm gonna walk to the ambulance myself. Of course. The invincible. I'm shot in the side. Victor Newman, I'm gonna walk there. So I think Adam and Nick help him. And he tells Michael Baldwin, look, answer, stay here, answer the questions from the police and um everything. But Sharon has to come and say her words to Ian, what she's gonna say. Actually, Nikki was first. Nikki said her piece. So Sharon, one of the two, who cares? They both said their piece. Then Mariah came and shared her piece to Ian and how he didn't win and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, this is a dead man. When are they going to cover his face with the sheet? Right? They never did. Never. which was really crazy, right? So Nikki's going to ride in the ambulance with Victor. Ian is taken in another ambulance. And I thought, okay, where they're taking the dead body? Because it's the coroner that takes the body to the morgue, right? Now, if an ambulance has a patient or a person in the ambulance trying to get him to the hospital, the person dies in the ambulance, they do still take him to the hospital because they got to be declared dead at the hospital. But anyway, so Ian is in the back of this ambulance. The two drivers look like zombies from a zombie movie, expressionless, riding. All of a sudden, you hear this. And guess who opens his eyes? And I said, I'll be a monkey's uncle. You mean to tell me this man who had been bleeding out for a good 45 minutes, EMTs found no vitals, or they're ridiculously inept, right? They felt the man was dead. And he just starts as if he had almost drowned and coughed up the water, right? Or as if somebody had been doing CPR on him forever and he got his breath. No, he just got it all on his own. And they didn't hear it. And I said, you know what? It better be another decade and this show's off the air before they think about bringing him back. Because that was ridiculous that he survived that, right? I'm through with that. He survived it with no medical attention. Okay. That'll work, Young and the Restless. That will work. I love it. Now we have the only other exciting, oh, Sharon. So Nick, Michael, and Sharon, Nick and Michael call Daniel, explaining that all the charges have been dropped against Sharon. Ian Ward confessed to killing Heather. And I thought, well, y'all are lying? Because he never confessed to that. That sounded good for Michael. Look, a dead man can't tell no tales, right? Mm, but he ain't dead. But look, it's not like he's going to resurface anytime soon. For one, he's hurt. For two, he's a wanted fugitive. Now, for sure, he's going back to jail. Okay. So when Nick and Michael are really Nick, and they're explaining things to Daniel, and Daniel says, "But of course he died, so we can't. No way that could be verified that he said it." Nick said, "I was there." Daniel says, "Yeah, of course." you know, and so um Sharon, she's looking down like, I'm sorry, he did it, but I'm sorry for my part. Like, is you gonna forgive you gonna forgive me? And Daniel said, Sharon, yeah, I understand you were drugged, but that still doesn't, I still won't forget or can't forgive how you framed me. Nick, she wasn't in her right mind. And Daniel said, yeah, I've heard that. You know, no, right? And so Daniel pretty much got up and left. He didn't leave in a huff. He didn't leave calling them all liars, but he pretty much left as in, what else do y'all want from me? Because I'm through, right? This is all random because he said Ian did it to they drugged Sharon to get her out the way because he wanted a clear path to Mariah. When the better of the story would have been Ian did it because last time he was in town, he was upset that Dylan, Nikki's son, see the Dylan that we never hear his name, that Dylan was Paul's son and not Ian's son. And he wanted revenge on Paul, so he killed Paul's daughter. That would have made more sense. But see, that kind of writing is too good of writing, right? So now Daniel leaves, Nick leaves. He's going to go check on Victor. He's going to go get Adam, which he does. Adam and the family are moving in to the old new house, and the furnitures are hideous. I mean, come on, I can't wait for Chelsea to redecorate. I don't know what kind of furniture they threw in. The house is all dark. The tones were too gloomy. Ugh. So anyway, Sharon is still at coffee house. Well, she comes in. Phyllis is at the coffee house. She's sitting there and she looks, and Sharon comes either out the back or something. And Phyllis is like, shouldn't you be recuperating or something? You know, I'm just trying to get some coffee in peace. And so Sharon says, I do own this place. And I'm thinking, you also own Cassidy First, Sharon. Why can't you go there? It's a desk job. You won't have to deal with the public, and you could get your mind right. Okay. So Phyllis just walks away from her. And Sharon says, have you spoken to Daniel recently? And Phyllis looks at her. Yes, I've spoken to Daniel. And Daniel told me about now the new revelation and how you just are responsible for nothing. And she says, I don't want to hear it, Sharon. So Phyllis is trying to really just dismiss Sharon. And she just walks away and she sits down. Well, no, that ain't good. That ain't good enough for Sharon. Sharon walks over to the table and sits down. And I said, see, Sharon, when nobody's around, she is the instigator. She really is. So she goes, it's not a story, Phyllis. It's what happened. I was drugged. Ian Ward is the one that killed Heather, not me. And Phyllis says, But where is Ian Ward? Oh, that's right. He's dead. So we can't really hear what he really said. Can't be verified, right? Hmm. I don't know. So she goes, I have it's terrible what happened, to Heather, but I didn't murder her, Phyllis. I didn't. And Phyllis says, you know what, Sharon? Okay, you didn't murder Heather, but you intentionally framed my son. You intentionally told the cops that Heather said she was afraid of my son. You intentionally took bloody, blood soaked towels with Heather's blood and put them in my son's apartment to be found. And Sharon is sitting there, and I see how she was looking at the table with Daniel, like, oh, you forgive me? With Phyllis, she's like, and wasn't me. Her whole face was what it wasn't me. She goes, and my part in that, I've apologized for. I wasn't thinking straight. I should never have done that to Daniel and Lucy. Like, And Phyllis says, you know what, Sharon, I'm not doing this with you because I've promised my kids that I'm not going to let my hatred of you and what you've done consume my life. She's saying, but I'm going to tell you this right now, Sharon. And now Nick's, of course, walking in as usual. I don't forgive you. I am not giving you a pass for this because you intentionally did this. You may not have killed Heather, but you did everything else. So Nick walks over and he goes, is everything okay here? And Sharon looks at him. And Phyllis says, yeah, everything's fine here, Nick. I was just letting Sharon know exactly where I stand. And Phyllis gets up and she walks away. And then Sharon looks at Nick, with the whole, he goes, Phyllis is going to be Phyllis. But you didn't do it. She'll come to terms with it. And I'm like, shut up, Nick. Right. So now we have, let me see. Mm, minor stories. Claire tells Kyle what happened the night before. And true look, she's definitely running on my aunt killed herself. She did. Because when she told Kyle, Kyle says, wait a minute. Did she come to your place with poison? Who did she want to kill, Claire? Claire danced around that. Danced around it. Ultimately, my aunt took her own life because she did not want to go back to jail. Yep. And I said, wow, okay, Claire. I'd be scared of you. So, back to Sharon. She never went to the hospital. Now, mind you, she had been laced with PCP in that water for days. I don't know the side effects, the long term effects, or whatever effects PCP has on a body, but she did not go get checked out. And she's somebody that is on bipolar meds that hadn't been on her bipolar meds while they had her chained up there. But see, that's the thing. They feel okay not getting checked out, not seeking medical advice, and subjecting themselves to the public. They feel that that's okay, right? So, let me see. The Abbotts embrace Claire. She has lunch with them. Abbott lunch. Jack's talking about, John Abbott, bringing up some John Abbott stories. Ha ha ha. Billy talks to Jack and lets him know is what he's going to start his own company. He's got some great ideas. He's given up on the whole vengeance thing, and Jack is so proud of him. And he says, Dad would be proud too. Jack says, run some of them when you figure out those ideas. Run them by me. I'll back you. So Billy and Sally are talking. Billy decides he's going to do a media company. And he says it's not a revenge thing. They're going to do it right. He says Newman Media is pretty much Victor's little toy to bolster Newman Enterprises, all of his companies. He goes, I want to run a different media company, in a whole different style. So Sally likes that idea. So Sally's like, well, wait a minute, Adam. Remember, you said this is not a revenge thing. He goes, it's not different. It's going to be 100. My focus is going to be different, but it's going to be better. It is. So Phyllis comes by with Daniel and she's, wants Daniel to Billy to wow him, but he just run some things by Daniel. And he's saying, Daniel, where do you see yourself? What do you want to do? And Daniel says, I don't want to get into any kind of revenge because this is not. 100% it's not. I want to do blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Daniel left there with something to think about. And he says, I'm going to be going out of town. Because Daniel says, I'll have to think about it. He says, okay, that'll work because I'm going out of town. And when I come back, we could pick it up. So Phyllis tells Daniel to go start the car. She had a couple words she wanted to say to Billy. She goes, really, Billy? You're going out of town now? And Billy says, look, Jack has already wired the money to my account. It's there, ready to start. He says, I'm going out of town for a week with Sally. It's, I guess it's fashion week in Paris. And when I come back, we could pick this up. She says, it shouldn't your priority be the company? It's gonna be my priority. I'm gonna be texting you all the time with ideas. He says, well, first and foremost, Phyllis, you told me your involvement with the company is contingent upon Daniel getting involved with the company. Daniel walked out of here without giving me any kind of commitment. He wants to think about it. He goes, that works for me because I'm going out of town. He goes, no, what? Remember what I said about boundaries? Boundaries. I'm going out of town. So you've got some time, Phyllis, to work on your son. She looks and he goes, all right, I've got to go. So Daniel's been waiting out there warming up that car. It's pretty warm by now, Phyllis. you know. So she leaves and she and Daniel come into society and they're talking. And Daniel ends up saying, yeah, because really, or actually, Daniel's talking to Summer, maybe. No, I think Phyllis was there. That it did kind of sound exciting. Billy did have some good ideas. He says, and right now, you know what? I don't have anything going on in my life. It's been a while. And I actually see that that's something I can look forward to. So he's like, okay, I'll do, he'll give it a shot. Now, Billy ain't left town. I'm surprised Phyllis ain't calling saying, okay, I got confirmation, you stay, but whatever. Now let's switch over before I end this to the whole Damian debacle. As it turns out, the person meeting with Nate was not Damian. It's his employee. Damian is short, which is funny. This guy looks like he could be Nate's brother more than Damian does. Now, this guy is Nate's height, kind of Nate's skin tone. But if it's one thing this is a recast of Nate. This is actually the lightest Nate skin tone they've had. Nathan was dark and Olivia was definitely dark skin tone. The other versions of Nate were darker skin tone. Actually, look kind of, when I saw the real Damian, when he appeared, talking to his employee, I forget his name, I said, well, he looks more like Nathan, the dad. He had physical characteristics of a Nathan. And the other version of Nate, the one that was when Abby was engaged to him, that Nate, even though he was still kind of tall because Abby's tall, he was darker skinned and he was older. They look like, okay, they could have been brothers. Now, this Nate and this Damian doesn't look like they could be brothers, but family don't always look alike. They just really don't, especially when you have a different mother. You've got different gene pools coming in to play. So he's telling Damian that this is what happened on our last meeting. Damian says, look, you call him back. I want you, something else is happening here. I need to know more about this Nate Hastings. You say that there's you're willing to meet with him again, right? Because Nate had to skip out on him on their lunch because Amy was having another episode And what's her name? Audra called and said Amy's in trouble. So Audra was able to get Amy back home. Nate comes through the door and she was, getting her bearings straight. And he goes, Amy, I would feel better if we go to the hospital. You need to be checked out. She goes, they're not going to tell me nothing I don't know. And Nate says, you know what, Amy, you don't know that. I know plenty of renowned specialists that specialize in your field. I think you need a second opinion, even a third. She goes, right now, all I can do is think about my son. And do you think that he'll ever meet with me? Because one thing Damian said while they were at lunch, or the fake Damian, was no, absolutely not. I don't want to see her. So, needless to say, Damian, the real Damian, has him call Nate and say, okay, you know what? Um, I would like to finish our conversation. So, or Nate texted him saying, I would like to finish our conversation. Sorry, I had to leave. Or he may have even left a voicemail. Sorry, I had to leave, but let me know if we could reschedule for another time. Well, Damian responds and says, yeah. And Nate says, can we meet at my apartment, at my place? Because not apartment, it's penthouse, my place. And so they had decided, with Audra was there, that it was time for Amy to confront him because she's getting sicker and we don't have time for this cat and mouse. So the guy comes over and Audra's leaving and he makes like a play for Audra right in front of Nate every time. Like, ooh, Miss Charles. And Audra's like, walks by him. She didn't even say anything. She just walked by him, right? And she told Nate, I'll speak to you later. I think she may have kissed him on the cheek or something. Um, so Nate says, I'm happy that you decided to talk to me again. He says, I've decided we can't waste any more time. I need to tell you, or you need to know the real reason that I reached out to you. He goes, and the best person to explain this is, he goes, Amy, please come down now. And the guy's like, oh my God. Because when he was talking to Damian, he goes, if your mother sees me, she's going to know I'm not you. Right? So Amy comes down the stairs and she sees this guy and she goes, who are you? And Nate says, that's your son, Damian, Amy. She goes, I have not lost my faculties. He said, I don't know this man, who this man is. I have never seen him before in my life. And Nate is looking at him and he's like, she goes, who are you and what have you done with my son? And he had to come clean. He said that he worked for Damian. Damian was suspicious of Nate's whole story, out the blue, kind of, wanting to hire him for some job. He says, and then when I get here, you confess that there is no real job. He said, so Damian really knew something was up with you. And Nate is like, yeah, but here's the deal. Damian did not know that when he sent you in the first place. Who lies? Who has an employee lie about their identity? And he goes, Damian's a very private person. His time is very valuable, blah, blah, blah. So Amy is saying, look, I need to see my son. Time is of the essence. I don't have time to waste. And I need to see him and tell him some things before it's too late. And so the guy is like, okay, I cannot talk Damian into doing anything he doesn't want to do. He says, but let's get back to before it's too late. Are you sick? What's wrong with you? And Nate says, the only thing that Damian needs to know is it's vital that he meets with his mother. Time is of the essence. And so the guy left. He goes, I'll see. She goes, you're reporting to him. So he has to be close enough. And so he goes, I'll see what I could do. So he goes back to Chancellor Park, with the whole lookout point, and he's telling him, he goes, your mother's sick. And the guy looks at him. He goes, she was saying how she had to speak to you before she ran out of time. He goes, man, look, I think you need to speak to your mother. Okay. And so Damian is looking, oh. Well, now Nate name you're talking, and I fast forward all that conversation. And then the phone rings and Nate picks it up, and he calls the guy by his name. And it's Damian talking. Damian goes, no, this is Damian. Where do you want to meet? Or he goes, no, this is Damian. And I want to hear what's going on. So that's where they left that. Now Damian's going to see his mother. There's going to be some story. Amy is not. We all knew there was more to Amy's story than met the eye, and I think it's going to come out more than meets the eye. Amy's either going to be very wealthy, because in the scenes it shows Damian yelling, saying, "You reached out to my mother to take advantage of her." If Amy didn't have any money, you wouldn't say that. I think Amy has money, and whatever. We're going to find out. We are truly going to find out the deal with this. So that's it. Let me go to Comment Corner. Comment Corner. Denzel says, well, Ian Ward isn't dead at all. Survived, exposed, and the truth about the Newmans, which he wasn't wrong when he said it all, because everything was straight fact 102. Even I thought he kidnapped Mariah's wife, Tessa, and the baby this whole time. This fool was telling the truth. He didn't kidnap Tessa and the baby. Um, at this might something be the redemption after, and after that he might get revenge on the Newmans clan once again. We just gotta wait and see. Great daily recaps as always. I don't want to see Ian Ward again. I just don't. That's ridiculously stupid. DL says Nikki has been wearing the same outfit since January 7th. I know. Oh my God. On Friday she was looking good, hair done different. Nikki was looking really good on Friday. It's been the same day ever since. Fingers crossed that they finally get to move on. I had to laugh when Ian yelled for her to come down the stairs, and she came with that outfit on. I know Claire's been wearing, well, maybe that's Claire's coat though. They commented it was midnight, like she would be dressed for bed. I know. Lashunta says it's not coming together about Heather. Was it about Paul? That would make sense. It sure would. And Anthony says, that's two people the Newmans have killed. Anthony says Jordan is not the problem. Ian has the gun and nothing to lose. Anita says, please stop explaining how I read the comments. Well, you know what, Anita, sometimes we get new people and they don't get it. They don't understand. I have been fair, but I do have to explain it from time to time. But thank you for saying I don't have to, you know. Jenna says, yes, yes, yes. I love, love, love Tessa and Mariah. My favorite married couple on The Young and the Restless. All right, everybody, that's Comment Corner. That is my review. I'll be back in a week or so for another catch-up review on The Young and the Restless.